So let us start by saying we here at Rickcast, we being me, do not denigrate the suffering, the hurt, the pain that any abuse victim feels, whether it's in a church setting, a school setting, a private setting. Abuse is abuse. It's terrible. And it needs, the penalties for abuse need to be harsh, severe, and to a point that people never think of doing it again. So the fact of the matter is that under Pope Francis, because the liberal media was hoping that he would shape the church in a more progressive direction, they did not bring these things up because, the who am I to judge on the LGBT stuff and all these other kinds of things. They kind of gave him a pass, and they didn't bring the abuse allegations up. Now that there is a new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, who has things on the record against the LGBT MAP lifestyle and all the, some quote unquote based opinions. Now the legacy media is picking up on these stories. What do I mean? The organizations that will be mentioned in the story are correct, but they were never interviewed. They were never talked to under Francis because they didn't want to bring that attention to the church under the pontificate of Francis, because they were hoping that he was working with them to shape the church in a different direction. But it's not. He has been Pope for one day. Here we go from WTOP News. The new Pope, Leo XIV, has in common with many of his peers in the Catholic hierarchy. He's been in positions of authority when accusations of sexual abuse have risen against priests under his supervision. Now, let me just bring this up. This is not a comparison. This is not a whataboutism. I am just saying that the legacy media only targets the Catholic Church for these types of investigations and hit pieces because the Catholic Church is the only church out there. The only church that steps in the breach. Ergo, I know this makes people upset. In 2023, the SBC, the Southern Baptist Church, released a report showing 700 cases of sexual abuse within its confines. Just Google female teacher and student, I can't say the whole thing, and see the amount of articles that come up. Nobody talks about the public school. Nobody talks about the SBC. These are also places where there's a hierarchy. Outside of the SBC is a little loose run. But like for schools, you have principals, you have human resource, you have all these other things. Yet these things completely go out and, well, before you get too big LH, there's a big reason. We don't want to talk about a certain group of people that libs love, that's alphabetical, that has a huge problem with child abuse, but we won't go there. We're just going to stick with this story. The libs go after the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church is the one true church that stood in the breach against progressivism. That's it. So these stories have been around. They've been reported by Catholic News. They have been over here on the College of Cardinals report. They detail all of this stuff. This stuff was documented far back. Let's see. I think I said it earlier. I should have kept it. Back in 2024, way before he was even considered for Pope, these things were brought up, but they were never given mainstream attention because he was not Pope. So they didn't deem it necessary, and plus Francis was there. Now, some of the advocates for the victims say there needs to be an accounting of how Leo, the name taken by Cardinal Robert Prevost upon his election Thursday, handled such cases when he held positions of church authority in Chicago and Peru. And they hope as Pope, he will crack down on other bishops who say they are mishandling similar cases. Some might advise giving the new pontiff the benefit of the doubt. We disagree. It is on Pope Leo XIV to win the trust of victims and their families. Anne Barrett Doyle, who came to Providence in Boston, she was part of the movie Spotlight. She was one of the people in that the movie was based on. And I get it. This is a stain on the church's history. It is. We can't run from it because it happened. The Catholic Church is infallible, except the people running it are fallible. And they're prone to temptations, and they're prone to a lot of things. Now, of course, there are little tidbits in the statistics and the data that a majority of the abuse came by clergy that were not supposed to be there. Now, that's not all of them, and I'm not trying to whitewash it, and I'm not trying to excuse it. The fact of the matter is, Pope Leo may need to attack this head on and engage it to such a point where we can restore even more confidence in the Catholic Church, because that's what they always say. Oh, well, they have a even louder with Crowder. I love the louder with Crowder guys. I was watching him this morning. Josh Feinstein, funny dude. He was like, the Catholic Church has a problem with kids. Nobody mentions the SBC. Nobody mentions public schools. Nobody mentions of many other places where children are abused. It's just the Catholic Church has been spotlighted because it is the enemy of progressivism. That you can't ignore, that you can't deny, which is why it would be nice if Pope Leo, and I'm not saying for him to do this right away. I mean, the guy's trying to figure stuff out. Would make this a point in his pontificate to bring more accountability to those who violate the priesthood. Right? Back in the day, I always like to tell people that don't know this, the Catholic Church had a different way of dealing with, those who broke the sacred trust of being a priest. If there were any of these allegations, because in the Catholic Church, we believe that men's hands, they're blessed. We believe in the transubstantiation, that he turns bread and wine into the actual body and blood of our Lord and Savior, the consecrated hands. And so back in the day, they would take the hands, if you were convicted, and they would just dig and they would scar the hands of these priests, because you can't unconsecrate hands, but you could scar the crap out of them. So that way, everybody around the world, when everybody in that land knew that if you saw a guy whose hands were all scarred up and bloodied, that guy was not to be trusted. And then they would toss him to the local authorities. I don't agree with the way that St. Pope John Paul II handled the abuse scandals. I don't like the way that Cardinal Ratzinger kind of tiptoed around them. I don't like the way that they ignored them under Francis, because they were like, oh, well, it's fine because he's going to make it all progressive and great. And then all the other things. But the fact is, you see how quickly the media turns. And we argued I didn't. Most people argued all day yesterday that Pope Leo wasn't even Pope. Or he was too liberal. He was a Francis too. He was all this other kind of stuff. These kinds of articles coming out this quickly has to tell you that he's not exactly a blueprint for Francis II. Because if he was, the legacy media would give him more of a berth. They would give him more of a wide berth. But because he is not, the knives are out already coming after him. Now, we'll read it from the College of Cardinals report here. All about this stuff. Let's see. Most recently, questions were raised about Provost's knowledge and handling of abuse allegations in his former diocese of Chicalo. 2 priests were accused of molesting 3 young girls, with allegations surfacing in April 2022. During his tenure as bishop, the case has been a source of frustration for local Catholics due to a slow process and unclear resolution. Some accusers have claimed Provost failed to properly investigate the allegations and covered up for the accused priests, but the diocese has firmly denied this, stating that Provost followed proper procedures. They stated that Provost personally received and attended to the victims. So we have these things that were covered all the way back in 2024. Transanto's false accusations against Cardinal Francis Prevost. This is from zenit.org. I don't even know where that is. But the affirmation by the Fourth Power Program that Cardinal Robert Prevost would have covered up for the priests and that would have remained silent in the face of complaints does not correspond to the truth. So there are, as with everything, 2 sides to this story. And he importantly opened the initial canonical investigation. He also encouraged the victims to take the case to the civil authorities. July 2022, Prevost sent the results of the investigation to the Diocese of the Doctrine of the Faith for review. His supporters stress that he has documents from the DDF and the papal Nanicler. I'm kind of an idiot. Nancler in Peru, which also indicate that he not only attentive to the presumed victims, but he did all required in church law following procedures set out for these cases. Now, of course, in May 2025, allegations emerged that the diocese paid $150,000 to the three girls to silence them. Described as longtime public critics of Prevost, the girls reportedly blame him for covering up their abuse by the priests. These allegations, reported in Info Vatica, described the Peruvian scholar, which was the subject of the national television report, including an interview with the girls last fall, as a, quote, stone in the shoe of Cardinal Prevost. I will drop this also in the chat if you want to take a look at it and read it for yourself as well. So, of course, this story does say a little bit towards the bottom. They do try to go both sides here, so I will give them credit. No one has accused the Pope of any action of abuse himself, nor is he accused of what many Catholic bishops worldwide have done, knowingly keeping confirmed abusers in public ministry, in what has been defined a deafening scandal for the Catholic Church. Completely agree. That should be terrible. He has been accused of falling short in his responses to the cases in Chicago and Peru. That's what they're trying to. He didn't do enough. That's the focus of this. They're saying he didn't do enough, which that cardinal report shows that there were multiple things that he did, but they paid $150,000. I don't know the source of that. I'm not going to go into that anymore than the fact that it is an unfortunate thing that took place. And I don't know much about it, but I will say I hope the Holy Father takes this and runs with it, as far as making it a point to once and for all remove any abusers in the church. We shouldn't hide them or move them around, and so forth. You're right. That's the thing about this article, LH. He just got there and they're already slapping him with, oh, well, he did this. And it's like, well, maybe that's something he wants to do. We don't know what his pontificate's going to be yet. But just understand, because he's not looked at the same way as Francis, he's not going to get the graces that Francis got. And that's just a shame, because that's how the media plays these things.